Hi there, Taurus. Thank you for joining me for your year 2017 forecast. Welcome to the new year. And it's a new year that begins with the sun in the part of your scope that's to do with new experiences, adventurism. So as you've been formulating your New Year's resolutions, it wouldn't be a surprise if you wanted to add some extra spice to your existence, to be a bit more spontaneous. But your sign really revels from sticking at things for the long term. But there were times in the last quarter of 2016 when you were encouraged to be much more experimental, particularly in the middle of October when Mars merged with Pluto, which may have really whet your appetite for new experiences. But the irony is that Mercury, the planet of communication and of travel, is actually in this location too, but tracking backwards in a retrograde. So I just feel that you need to make a mental note that if you are going to go on any journeys, long distance journeys throughout the new year, take extra care in terms of the planning. Be really meticulous in your approach. It doesn't mean to say that every journey is going to go wrong. It just means that you need to be well informed. Also, Mercury in this location is very much to do with agreements, contracts and negotiations. If any of these are going to come up in any big way in the year, again, precision is going to be absolutely vital. Mercury does actually forge a really nice link to your ruling planet of Venus at the turn of the year. So this is going to mitigate some of the retrograde influence. And the Sun is forging a beautiful alliance with Mars and also Neptune. Now when the Sun and Mars get together, it's a real go-getting influence. It's one which gives us a lot of drive. And on the face of it, new experiences linked to group situations can prove to be quite enriching throughout the whole year. But Neptune is something we do need to talk about and take very seriously. Neptune was quite mischievous last year, particularly from mid-May through to mid-October, when it clashed with the strict and restrictive energies of Saturn. For you, group situations in that dynamic may have actually been quite difficult, especially where you were linking to people that you couldn't really connect with, or who had very different values to you, or if there was a friend who lent on you in terms of financial help. All these areas may have been particularly tricky across those set of months. So as you come into this new year, although the Sun and Mars are egging each other on, and you could want to get together with people in situations where you share a mutual strand of interest or hobby, then that can be very good, but just be aware that Neptune can see us be very idealistic and sometimes have sky-high expectations, and it is the trickster planet, particularly in a connection with Mars. So you could encounter someone, despite your best will, in 2017, who appears to be hale and hearty, appears to be the great friend that you've been looking for, but actually may in some ways not be 100% honest. And you also need to be totally conscious about your own motives and actions too. But that doesn't mean to say that this is going to dominate the landscape. I think as you sweep into this new year, it's actually the eclipses from last September that are particularly active for you. And the solar eclipse on the 1st of September certainly feeds into the start of this year, and that desire for something that's bigger and more meaningful is really strong for you Taurans as this year begins. And also, because of the lunar eclipse which occurred in the middle of September, you need to feel that you can express yourself. So expression, group identity, connecting with things that are meaningful, but clear communication are all important ingredients as the turn of the year occurs and you create your own solar return. However, there's more than this, because you will know that Saturn continues in the sign of Sagittarius for much of this year. It's actually going to be switching into your sector of expansion on the 20th of December, so quite late in the year. So most of the time it's going to be in Sagittarius still. It's also going to be tracking backwards for 5.5 months, but it's forging, Saturn, some amazing links with other planets, principally Jupiter and also Uranus. Now Jupiter is in the part of your scope to do with your health and fitness and diet and attitude around work. A can-do approach to life can certainly stand you in good stead. But because Jupiter's forging a great angle to Saturn, and Saturn in turn to Uranus, don't neglect past experiences and skills in terms of growing your fortunes in the future, because something surprising can happen. You could find a rebirth that occurs, and it could point towards an old talent of yours that you can reapply, but perhaps in a different way in the here and now. And January and February are going to be particularly important to this. I will also say to you that Jupiter is in opposition with Uranus in the first couple of the months of the year as well. Now, Jupiter in opposition for Uranus for you suggests don't push yourself too hard, particularly when it comes to burning the candle at both ends. You need to balance your life, you need to find rest, downtime, time to recuperate. This desire to be with groups and excitement around creating a bit more change and movement in your life needs to be balanced against making sure the essential routines in your life, eating, resting, exercising, are not ignored. And that's going to be important in the first couple of months, when I do feel that you could go for it a bit more than would ordinarily be the case. Remember, with Mercury twisting backwards, keep things clear. Now, Mars, the power planet, is actually going to be going through a fine part of your situation through pretty well the whole of January. This is also going to give you the appetite to think long term. And if you are a sporty kind of Taurus, once you get through the conjunction between Mars and Neptune, which could drain you of a little bit of vitality, you could find yourself either to want to watch in a team or taking part in group activities. But then Mars moves on the 26th of January into a more reflective part of your scope. And in the following 6 weeks, issues from your past could get stirred up, and you may have to look at these, particularly if they're psychological debris that you may have thought you dealt with, but they could still be lurking deep within the depths down inside of you. Now, February sees 2 big eclipses occur. Remember, eclipses work for 6 months, and these 2 are going to be working in tandem. The first one occurs in the part of your horoscope to do with your family and emotional life. It's in your 4th solar house, but it does actually forge a terrific link with Uranus in your 12th house, very much to do with hidden potentials, and also with Saturn in your 8th house to do with your resources and long-term financial planning and links to other people, and Jupiter in your sector of health, fitness, work and diet. It wouldn't be a surprise for some Taurus people on the back of the lunar eclipse, therefore, if you did think about perhaps working from home, working more in a part-time role or more flexible roles, perhaps doing different things at different times of the week. The more you can structure things to create a liberty which actually improves your overall life organisation and increases your sense of comfort but security, may be something that's worth really going for. But you're not going to want to go for this if it's actually going to exclude that potential to have fun, be sociable and be with others. And that comes on the back of the solar eclipse, which occurs on the 26th of February. And this is going to be an echo of the eclipses that occurred last September. Once more, it's that Piscean energy. It's about connectivity with other people. The bonds that you share, whether they're historical and go back a long way, or with people that are emerging into your life, are going to be so richly important. But because of the proximity of Neptune again, once more, you have to be realistic. There could be even though you're a very earthy person who understands the need for tangibility around ideas, there could be times when you get caught up in things that are really exciting and are about humanity, about personkind, about the overall benefits that can be gained. But you can't get swept along to such a degree that it's not meshing out and working well in your home life, which is what the lunar eclipse was about earlier in the month. So it's balancing for the following 6 months your emotional needs with the need to go out, have fun, and connect to the people that you find engaging and exciting. But is that going to fit with your need for comfort and security and tranquility at times? There needs to be a little bit of a juggling act that goes on. Now, as you go into April the 6th sees Saturn actually go into a retrograde, which is going to go on to August. But you know, despite this, it's still forging a very good link with Uranus. Now, Saturn may have seen some very serious conversations over the last couple of years in terms of close romantic relationships. Your financial situation around the business may have come under a little bit of pressure. One old income stream may have dried up. But I feel this angle with Uranus can see you very creative. But as I said before, don't disregard past experiences. It may have been something you did long ago, can be dusted down and reformatted in some kind of new, novel and modern way and work extremely well for you. Also, your hunches are going to be very important through this period of the year. There is, from the middle of July through to the middle of August, however, a clash between Jupiter and also Pluto. Pluto continues to be asking you to be open to growth, open to new experiences. Jupiter's asking you to focus on everyday reality. The two get together, something has to give. Again, it's about not taking on too much. It's about pacing yourself. It's about being aware of your own personal needs, which brings us round to August and August's eclipses. Now, the lunar eclipse in August occurs on the 7th in the sign of Aquarius, but it's forging a fantastic angle to Jupiter. So if you want to make a move in terms of your professional aspirations, August is going to be important. But remember, these eclipses are going to basically provide a backdrop for the second half of the year. And the solar eclipse occurs on the 21st in Leo, which is all about your emotions, about home life. But that's forging a great link with Uranus. So I feel there could be some surprises around work opportunities this month, but also there may be some kind of change to where you live. Perhaps you're going to reformulate it. You're going to move altogether. You're going to downsize, upsize, add a bedroom, change your kitchen, put a nice contemporary bathroom in. Whatever suits you, all of those options are possible in the second half of this year. But it also comes up for me again about having greater flexibility about how you earn a living, and some kind of change that I do feel can happen, especially if it sees you working more collectively with others, which is going to be a great attraction for you for much of this year. Also, on the 24th of August, joyfully, Saturn starts to go forwards again, and obviously we can all take a sigh of relief. But as you've seen, Saturn was still forging some constructive links despite its retrograde. But the next big event for you comes on the 11th of October, and this is one to truly celebrate. For the first time in 12 years, Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, optimism, of philosophy, of learning, of education, of travel, of foreign affairs, and luck, moves into your sector of relating. Now, I'm not going to give you one simple one-liner that tells you everything around your love life suddenly clicks into place, but the following 12 months can certainly give you greater opportunities to raise your consciousness in terms of your relationships. But you've been doing that all year anyway because of the role of Neptune, which has been asking you to think more compassionately, potentially, and see the big picture when it comes to your connections with others. But Jupiter can really sharpen you in terms of your appreciation of how you interact with others in the last phase of this year. And of course it's going to go on for pretty well the first 9 months of 2018, which I'll tell you about next time. But then that takes us into the autumnal part of the year in the northern hemisphere, and of course the spring in the southern, and then we come to December because that's a key month. Mercury's in retrograde again, but it's combining with Saturn. And if there is something that you still need to have a serious heart-to-heart with someone about, a serious discussion, perhaps it is contractual, it's in business, it's about property, it may be where you share resources with another person, then December may actually be quite tricky, quite frankly. If you've worked really hard learning all the lessons of Saturn in your 8th solar house in the previous 2.25, 2.5 years, this is just going to be a reminder that Saturn can still be a difficult influence, but it's not one that's going to beat you. But there can be some very serious discussions. But then Saturn emerges into its home zone of Capricorn. This occurs on the 20th of December. And as the year comes to a close, I think you kind of have a sort of a repeat of some of those aspirations that you had at the start of the year. But this time it's a kind of a check point of just how far you've come in terms of opening up your world to a wider horizons and just how feasible some of those expectations were. Saturn, of course, can be a hard taskmaster, but it also can be very instructive. And I think as you make the transit from the 8th to the 9th house, that desire to break away from any manacule that is holding you back, whether it's an inner blockage, an inner fear, whether it's your physical circumstances or a relationship, that's going to become the theme as this year comes to a close and 2018 begins. But actually, it was the theme at the start of the year, which is really about liberation and exploration, having more adventurism this year, connection with other people more, but also looking after and nurturing the more emotional side of your being through raising your interaction with others. You still need moments for you, and I think, and there still can be very serious moments in terms of your deepest relationships, but there certainly can be some playful times too for this year, Taurus. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.